Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed. At 1,000 subscribers, I'll be posting a special video. My heel caught the threshold and the room snapped quiet. 100 eyes climbed my white dress like ants. The string quartet faltered on a held note. The bride turned slow, bouquet lifting like a gavel. I smiled too wide and felt my face burn. I'm Mara, 27, and I knew I'd been set up. Her text still glowed on my screen like bait. Wear white, trust me, it's our vibe. I tucked the phone into my clutch with shaking fingers. The maid of honor mouthed what the hell from across the aisle. Photos first, the planner sliced the air with one hand. A groomsman blocked me with a clean shoulder. Bridesmaids only, his jaw clicked like a lock. The bride's mother looked past me as if at a stain. Someone whispered upstage her, and the whisper multiplied. The bride came close enough to fog my nerves. Interesting choice, her lashes lowered like a curtain. You wrote white, I showed the message without blinking. She glanced once and slid her gaze away. That must be old, her smile showed every perfect tooth. A guest lifted his phone and angled for drama. Another followed, the lens hunting my reflection. I stepped back and clipped a chair with my calf. The quartet restarted on a cheerier song that sounded forced. My throat tasted like pennies and apology. The usher guided me toward a seat near the door. Family fills the front, he asked me to understand. I sat and counted breaths while the whispers moved. The bride faced the altar and never looked back. Something in her shoulders promised a show. The officiant welcomed everyone and sunlight hit the rings. The groom smiled hard and kept his eyes forward. Vows began and my seat vibrated with someone's foot. I checked my phone under the program, small and secret. Her last message blinked, sent this morning, crisp and clear. Wear white, trust me, it's an elegant theme. 3 dots pulsed like a lie that wouldn't end. My stomach tightened and my shoulders pulled narrow. I heard the bride inhale as if tasting the room. I felt the target bloom between my shoulder blades. The officiant paused and the quartet fumbled a note. The bride turned from the altar like a hinge. Before we continue, her voice carried without effort. She looked straight at me and then at the guests. You all see it, she let the line hang. Chairs creaked as people shifted to face me. A bridesmaid bit her lip till it blanched. The groom flicked his gaze to the floor. The planner lifted a hand but didn't speak. I held still and tried not to blink. Enjoy the ceremony, the bride dropped the moment like a stone. Laughter rippled where it shouldn't have. The officiant scrambled back into scripted comfort. Vows resumed, but the room felt tilted now. I counted each word like steps to a cliff. Rings slid home and applause broke like glass. The couple kissed and I clapped on a delay. Confetti launched and a piece stuck to my lip. A photographer snapped me fighting it off. The flash found the white and fed on it. We funneled toward the reception doors like cattle. A bridesmaid brushed past and slipped a card into my palm. Place 4, right by the entrance, perfect view. Her eyes said run and her mouth stayed neutral. I pocketed the card and felt the trap tighten. Near the bar, the groom's sister cut across my path. Jewel tones only, she tapped her dress like proof. Her voice held anger and a warning together. Check the group chat if they let you in. She moved on before anyone clocked our orbit. A camera hovered for candid smiles that weren't candid. Guests queued at the seating chart and talked louder. I opened the card and saw my name bold. Front table for arrivals, spotlight without mercy. My pulse knocked against the paper like fists. I scanned for an exit and found none close. The bride twirled for a distant video and sparkled. She caught me watching and made a tiny toast. Her glass lifted in a private little salute. That was when I stopped hoping for coincidence. I ducked into the hallway and hit the restroom. The latch clicked and the mirror threw back snow. I wiped confetti from my mouth and it bled color. My phone buzzed again with a fresh notification. New comment in Bridesmaids Only, a group I never saw. I didn't read it yet, not there, not then. Footsteps gathered outside like a jury. Water roared and a hand tried the handle. I pocketed the phone and straightened my spine. Whatever waited outside was already rolling downhill. The handle jerked again and a laugh slipped under the door. I unlocked fast and stepped out with my chin high. 3 bridesmaids stood in a line like checkpoints. One held a phone close to her chest. I aimed for the sink and kept moving. Check this, she angled the screen for half a second. A screenshot glared with my name in bold. Front entrance for maximum pop, the note sat smug. Another line waited below like a second trap. Announce her outfit during intros, my pulse stuttered. Footsteps thudded down the hall and scattered them. We filed out as if nothing mattered. The corridor funneled us back toward noise. I tucked the sync paper into my clutch. I knew it would matter later. At the doors, the coordinator raised 2 fingers. Couple first, then wedding party, then tables. Her voice cut clean. She spotted me and hesitated for a beat. Hold by the welcome board, her smile never softened. I planted there and scanned for allies. The groom sister slid beside me like a shield. Do not stand here when they open, she barely breathed. She staged photos at this exact angle, her jaw tightened. She wants a clear shot when guests flood in. A drum roll rattled through the wall like thunder. Music swelled and the pair burst through the arch. Cheers erupted and confetti cannons fired on cue. I stepped out of frame as instructed. A videographer tracked the entry with hungry focus. He drifted toward me as if guided. Quick shot of the entrance, his lens hovered near shoulder height. Not me, I raised a palm like a stop sign. He pivoted annoyed and circled the cake instead. The sister watched him until he gave up. Stay mobile, she warned and walked off. Place cards lined a table under thick plexi. I found mine and flipped it to the back. 2 notes in a tidy hand waited like orders. Stand near DJ for surprise announcement, another arrow pointed right. The pressure behind my eyes threatened to burst. A groomsman intercepted me with a practiced grin. You okay? He offered water like a peace deal. I need the DJ now, my voice came out flat. He led me through clusters of relatives and laughter. Every footstep felt counted by someone else. The DJ read from his phone and schooled his face. Do not play that bit, I said, barely controlled. He rubbed his temple and showed me the request. Shout out to best friend in white, time stamped. He killed it with 2 taps and nodded once. Who wrote it? He scrawled and hid the name. Doesn't matter, his eyes flicked toward the head table. It matters to me, I held his look steady. He sighed and turned the screen again. Her profile picture grinned under the instructions. A staffer appeared with a mic and cue cards. Speeches in 5, her clipboard trembled slightly. Swap my seat, I asked, fingers already reaching. She hesitated, then slid 2 cards across. Fine, trade with table 9, she whispered quickly. I beelined to table 9 and claimed a chair. A cousin raised an eyebrow and opened space. My original spot remained empty by the entrance. A camera mounted on a small stand faced it. The trap still waited for a target. Champagne flutes chimed and the room settled. The maid of honor stood with practiced poise. Tonight is about loyalty, she lifted her glass high. Her eyes skimmed past me like I was fog. Some friends show their true color under pressure. Under color, not colors, I clocked the singular dig. My stomach tightened and then steadied into resolve. The groom sister texted me a single word. Office, then a door icon and an arrow. I slipped out while applause covered my exit. The office sat behind a half-open door. She waited there with her phone unlocked. I pulled these before they disappear, she murmured carefully. Thread after thread bloomed across the screen like weeds. My name starred in multiple messages and assignments. Seat her where cameras catch arrivals, one instruction gleamed. Confirm wardrobe and nudge her to commit, another followed. A final block sat heavier than the rest. Post clip to our weddings with forgiving caption, timestamp earlier. My chest cooled as the pattern completed. I snapped photos of everything methodically and checked focus. Those images turned my suspicion into evidence. I did not shake anymore, I planned. The sister watched my hands steady into purpose. We are not done, she said, eyes fierce. Noise swelled outside as the next toast launched. We re-entered like ghosts no one noticed. The DJ caught my glance and tilted his head. Safe, his mouth formed silently across the room. I exhaled once and read the energy change. The bride stood to speak and the hall obeyed. She surveyed the crowd and settled her gaze. Before dessert, a quick thank you to friends. Her glance skimmed the doorway where I should stand. Her smile waited for the missing mark. I stood from table 9 and lifted my glass. A quiet ripple followed as heads turned. I walked toward the front without rushing. The videographer pivoted, confused by my new angle. The lens searched for the planned shot and failed. We stopped 3 steps apart and silence stretched. Do it, her lashes fluttered once, then stilled. I tapped my phone and bright screens lit around us. The sister mirrored the album to the projector feed. Receipts filled the wall in clean sequence. Gasps rolled through rows like distant surf. The DJ killed the background track with one swipe. I held the mic and kept my voice even. These messages are from your planning chat. I let the next screenshot speak louder than me. The groom pushed his chair back and stayed standing. He stared at the wall and not at anyone. A bridesmaid covered her mouth with both hands. The maid of honor stared at her empty notes. I waited for the final card to land. On the screen, the posting plan appeared in full. Title the clip with forgiveness for viral reach. A draft caption sat ready with linked tags. A moderator reply promised fast approval after upload. My heart slowed to a single heavy beat. She reached for the mic and found air. Her bracelet rattled against the table edge. Those are out of context, she tried, eyes bright. I pulled up the timestamps and the approvals chain. The pattern held like welded steel. The room learned the truth in stages and hurt. I felt heat on my face and refused to cry. My hands did not shake, and that surprised me. I had walked in as prey and now stopped running. Her smile collapsed in on itself and stayed down. Chairs scraped as he moved to the front fast. Kill the playlist, his knuckles tapped the table once. Silence rolled across the room like a wave. He pointed at the screen and then at her. Explain this right now, his voice steady but dangerous. She lifted a smile that didn't reach anything. Old drafts mean jokes, nothing real, her bracelet flashed. Her fingers darted across her phone like a shield. Across the room, a cousin hissed, check the log. The DJ nodded and opened a panel. Stop, she lunged for the booth and missed. The DJ angled the display toward us all. Scheduled posts populated a queue with clean timestamps. Auto-share to 3 channels sat toggled on. A countdown spun under the top entry. My lungs forgot the next breath for a beat. Her shoulders squared and she reached for poise. This is being twisted against me, she tried again. A bridesmaid stared at her shoes like they might help. Someone whispered, call the venue manager, and feet moved. The coordinator arrived with a tight clipboard grip. I need the couple in the office now. He raised his palm and didn't budge an inch. We will handle this here, he answered without blinking. His sibling took position at his other side. Is there more? His eyes never left her face. I opened the album and swiped to a checklist. Shot list for photographers, the title blared at us. Capture Mara arrival in light attire with visible reactions. Photographer initialed and invoice paid in advance. The lead shooter shifted behind a pillar and winced. Were you instructed to frame me? I asked quietly. He lifted his chin and nodded once. Special request extra fee pre-approved. His mouth tightened. He looked at her and then at the floor. Her father rose halfway and sat back down. His hand flattened on the linen like a warning. Not tonight, he muttered, jaw crooked hard. She flinched and pasted on another brittle smile. The audience lined in as one organism. I walked to the DJ and passed my phone. Mirror the full gallery, I said without shaking. He synced in 2 taps and filled the wall. Another document loaded with signatures and headers. Release form listed my name as promotional consent. I never signed that, my voice cut clean. A gasp ticked around the room like a clock. She swallowed and blamed a clerical error with effort. The coordinator read the footer and frowned deep. Signatory email didn't match mine by 2 letters. He circled the discrepancy with a capped pen. This looks forged, his tone went flat. Her chest rose and fell once like a wave. She reset her expression and tried to cry. No tears came and the silence pressed in. The timer on the scheduled post hit 10 seconds. The DJ lunged and disabled auto-publish at 2. He pulled the plug on a paired phone. Her screen dimmed and connection alerts cascaded. Half the room clapped without meaning to. She pointed at me like a final defense. Why are you even here in that thing? I held her gaze and did not flinch. You wrote me to wear it this morning. I displayed the notification with the date glaring. Photoshop, she tried, chin tilted like armor. His sibling stepped forward with an extra device. Message metadata pulls server time. Their thumb moved fast. The raw header surfaced with a verifiable stamp. Her pupils kicked left and then snapped back. He took the mic and faced the table square. I owe everyone honesty, he stated, voice heavy. This is not an attack on a guest. This is a pattern that violates trust. He placed the mic down like it burned. She reached for his sleeve and he stepped away. Her bracelet clinked against the glass and startled her. Please come with me, she urged with a breath. He looked at the arch they stood under earlier. He looked back at the screen and wouldn't move. The coordinator cleared his throat and chose formality. Event will pause for 15 minutes, he announced crisply. Guests may step outside or remain seated. A rustle swept the hall as people stood. He gestured toward the office and waited cold. She refused to walk and planted both heels. Then I will explain from here, she declared loudly. She lifted her phone like a podium and started. Someone wants my happiness destroyed, watch this. Her thumb hit record and caught her own reflection. I crossed the floor and stood beside him. I felt my own heartbeat find a slower rhythm. I did not touch him and I didn't need to. He steadied anyway and that told me enough. We watched her attempt to flip the narrative live. A cousin shouted check the channel in real time. Screens lit as people opened the same page. Her video streamed shaky and offensive to 2 viewers. One dropped, the other typed turn off comments. Every plan bled audience faster than she could speak. The coordinator finally moved to shield the equipment. Phone down, he ordered, patience gone from his voice. Security hovered just inside the threshold, uncertain and alert. Her mother stood and took 3 careful steps forward. Stop this or I will, she warned with steel. Her shoulders sagged and the phone lowered an inch. I felt ignored, she blurted with a raw edge. It spiraled, I wanted control of the story. The sentence hung like a flag without wind. No one clapped and no one shouted. He reached for his pocket and paused midair. I knew what rested there and what it meant. He looked at me as if asking permission. I shook my head once because vows still mattered. He let his hand fall and counted a breath. The coordinator nodded like we had crossed a line. Office now, he repeated, voice final and calm. She stared at him and then at the crowd. Her eyes landed on me and hardened like ice. She walked at last, heels hitting the floor like a metronome. He glanced at the DJ and made a small sign. Soft background returned at a respectful volume. The sibling hovered near the aisle like a guard. Guests spoke in low bursts and then went quiet. I stayed standing because adrenaline would not sit. He stepped closer, not touching, not asking anything. Thank you for not leaving earlier, he managed barely. My mouth went dry and then found words. I'm done being collateral, I answered with care. We both looked toward the closed office door and waited. Through that door voices rose and then flattened. A chair scraped and something heavy thudded once. The coordinator's tone carried through the wall. No more games, choose what happens next. The hallway stilled like it was bracing. I knew the next minutes would set the course. Not just for them and their pictures and cake. For me and what I tolerated from anyone. I felt the old habit of smoothing conflict fade. I let it go and faced the door as it opened. The door swung wide and the three of them stood there. The coordinator stepped aside and let the tension walk in. He closed us in and set a phone on the desk. Recording for clarity, he announced, then folded his arms. No one objected, which told me everything. She moved first and claimed the chair nearest the files. He stayed standing like the ground might shift again. The sibling took position by the cabinet and watched. I remained near the frame with my pulse steady. I was done waiting for someone else's cue. 2 questions, he started, voice level but edged. Did you direct vendors to target her presence? And did you schedule a public post built on that? She blinked twice and went for bravado fast. Jokes, drafts, everyone knew I was kidding. The coordinator unlocked a drawer and slid out a binder. Vendor notes, he said, tapping a highlighted section. Special framing of guest at entry confirmed. Signed by you with today's date. Her mouth pressed flat while the clock ticked. He reached for the binder and skimmed the margin. Payment approved with express surcharge for sensitive content. His shoulders sank like he hated his own words. He looked at her without flinching and waited. She stared back and let silence carry. The sibling produced a tablet and opened security logs. Lobby camera shows place cards rearranged at noon. Your wristband unlock tracked that exact cabinet. A still image froze with her hand on the drawer. I felt vindication and something colder. She inhaled like a diver and slapped the desk. Everyone piles on me because I tried perfection. Crowd control fails when people disobey. Her eyes flicked at my dress and lingered. Blame needed a home and she kept aiming. I leaned in enough to make refusal obvious. You wrote me clear instructions this morning. Your scheduler said a shout out with my name. Stop pretending this was spontaneous. My voice stayed flat because fear was gone. The coordinator cut through with professional calm. Damage control requires quick decisions and real ownership. Option 1, we pause and issue a correction together. Option 2, we terminate festivities and clear the hall. He didn't blink while listing both roads. She latched onto the first option like a life ring. Fine, I will make a heartfelt statement. Then we celebrate and move on. He watched her and didn't nod yet. Honesty cannot skip accountability, he replied. He turned to me and waited for my boundary. I will not stand near any cameras, I answered. No shoutouts, no photos centered on me. Statement must name what actually happened. I kept breathing even when my hands trembled. A buzz rattled the desk and the DJ's text appeared. Heads up, teaser clip surfaced under an alias. 50 views and rising, probably queued earlier. The siblings swore under their breath and opened the link. A thumbnail showed my entrance with a mocking caption. She seeded backups, the coordinator muttered through teeth. Multiple accounts, different hosts, same draft language. He turned the screen and the pattern repeated. She stared like the evidence belonged to someone else. My stomach tightened and then steadied. He faced her and didn't soften anything. Statement now or we shut this down completely. She squared her shoulders and tried a softer tone. I panicked and made poor choices, she offered. That line won't hold, the sibling countered. He pulled a small envelope from his jacket pocket. I wrote vows I meant earlier, he said quietly. I also wrote a contingency if trust broke today. He placed the envelope on the desk without opening. Tell the truth before I decide which words matter. She looked at the envelope like it hissed. Do not humiliate me on our wedding night. Her voice found a wobble that sounded practiced. He didn't move toward her or away from her. I saw his choice forming and it scared me. The coordinator unlocked the intercom and signaled the booth. Hold music low level, keep guests seated. He switched back and positioned the mic on the desk. 3 sentences, then we re-enter together. Speak plainly, no spin, no edits. She leaned forward and gripped the edge hard. I targeted a guess for attention, she forced out. I arranged angles and posts that hurt her. I will delete every copy and compensate her immediately. Her breath shuddered at the end like a snapped wire. The sibling nodded once and reached for the door. Not enough, he said, hand still on the handle. Add that you requested the white dress, and that you staged the reaction for clout. The last word landed heavy. She shut her eyes and swallowed the pride left. I told her to wear it and plan the reaction. I'm sorry to every person dragged into it. My priority was clicks and control, when I wanted love instead. The coordinator hit record and saved the file. We will play this and then proceed calmly. He looked to me for a final check. I want a written apology and reimbursement tonight. If anything resurfaces, lawyers handle it. He lifted an eyebrow at the last detail. Documented and acknowledged, he answered briskly. He opened the door and noise pushed in hard. He gestured for us to follow in order. My heart kept pace and did not sprint. We stepped into the corridor as heads turned. Staff waited like a crew ready for cues. The sibling walked ahead to brief the DJ. He hovered beside me without touching again. Her heels tapped behind us like a countdown. At the threshold he paused and glanced back once. I want this to end with truth, he murmured. His eyes stayed on the floor for a beat. Then he squared his shoulders and signaled go. We crossed into the room and faced the crowd. The DJ cued the file and the room went still. Her confession played from the speakers in short, clean beats. No piano under it, no softeners, just the words. Murmurs broke against the walls and then stalled. I kept my chin up and waited for the next move. He stepped forward and faced the tables without blinking. We are halting the reception until damage is fixed. His sibling stood beside him and folded both arms. Guests shifted, then quieted, then lined in again. We had their attention and their judgment. The coordinator raised a hand and addressed the vendors. Power down the posting stations now, he ordered sharply. A tech sprinted toward the hallway and disappeared fast. I watched the videographer pack a gimbal with shaking fingers. My anger cooled into something precise. She crossed to me and offered a white envelope. Reimbursement for the dress and your time. Her voice carried just enough to be heard. I took it and checked the amount silently. Add legal fees, I said, not breaking eye contact. Her jaw flexed and then she nodded once. Fine, email me the invoice by morning. A guest coughed and looked away from us. The sibling set a phone between our hands. Record the second part before internet catches up. She lifted the device and faced the lens square. I targeted a person I called my friend, she began. I directed staff to place her in harm's path. I accept full responsibility and will compensate her now. She blinked hard and did not cry. The DJ's screen flashed with another alert. Mirror accounts down, stragglers still live on a reel. He pointed toward the booth and then to me. Do you want me to push the apology globally? Yes, I answered, steady because the line had shifted. He linked the file and pressed broadcast without flourish. Phones lit across the hall like small verdicts. Comments poured in fast and brutal and unstoppable. A bridesmaid covered her face with both palms. I did not look away from the front. Her father rose and reached for the microphone. Family will handle remaining costs, he announced curtly. He faced me and added one more line. Please send everything to my office tonight. I nodded once and tucked the envelope deeper. He approached his partner and took a breath. I cannot read the vows I wrote earlier. He unfolded a slip and held it for a beat. I will read the contingency instead. The hall tightened like a pulled knot. I need honesty more than tradition, he read slowly. I choose to pause this marriage until trust exists. I will not sign the license tonight. Chairs creaked and someone whispered, don't. He kept going because he had to. She swayed and reached for the table edge. Please talk with me in private. Her voice trembled now for real. He looked toward the office, then back to us. We will talk, but not as newlyweds. The coordinator moved to the center and asserted control. Program ends here, dessert will be served outside. Staff will assist anyone who wishes to leave. Lines formed with reluctant steps and quick glances. The night broke into fragments we could manage. The photographer approached me with careful posture. I will delete every targeted frame in your presence. He unlocked his device and held it out. We scrolled together and erased each setup shot. He cleared the trash and handed me the log. Near the doorway, the sister touched my elbow. Car is waiting if you want distance. I hesitated and weighed the invitation against pride. 2 minutes, I answered, needing one more action. I still had a boundary to draw. I found her by the arch where everything started. She looked smaller and not in a sympathetic way. You will email a full list of contacts, I said. Every planner, every vendor, every moderator you recruited. If I find a gap, we escalate. She nodded quickly and whispered yes twice. I believed the promise because control had shifted. I turned to leave and felt my shoulders unlock. The sibling joined me with a quiet exhale. We walked toward the exit through thinning noise. Outside, cool air hit and steadied my pulse. I slid into the car and shut the door firmly. My phone buzzed with apologies I didn't answer yet. I texted myself a checklist with ruthless clarity. First item read, protect yourself before you forgive. As we pulled away, I watched the venue shrink. Relief didn't feel like joy, and that surprised me. It felt like a gate opening to a harder road. I knew I would walk it anyway. I had finally stopped making myself smaller. My phone rang before the car reached the street. Unknown number pulsed on the screen like a dare. I answered on speaker and braced without breathing. It's done, the venue manager reported crisply. Aliases flushed, remaining uploads flagged, refund approved tonight. Another vibration cut him off with ruthless timing. A bank notification slid over the lock screen. Reimbursement cleared in full with an extra line. Damages noted in the memo like a confession. I saved the receipt and felt my jaw unclench. Headlights swept the curb as a rideshare eased behind us. His sister lined in through the open window. "He wants 5 minutes outside," she said, eyes steady. No speeches, just closure before the families intervene. I nodded once and opened the door slowly. He stood beneath the awning and didn't reach out. Wind pushed at his tie and he let it go. I sent the cancellation to the clerk already. His voice carried the exhaustion of a decision lived. "I will handle the fallout with my name attached." "I'm not here for vengeance," I answered with care. "I need clean boundaries and you need distance." He exhaled through his nose and looked past me. I kept missing what was right in front. He finally met my eyes and held there. Her parents appeared at the steps and stalled. They watched us like we were the fuse. The mother lifted a hand but didn't approach. The father folded his arms and looked away. Old loyalties shifted and I felt the tremor. The planner hustled out with a stack of forms. "Sign for the corrections to releases," she requested tightly. I read every line and crossed 2 clauses. No promotional reuse, immediate purge from all archives. She initialed the edits without a fight. A muted cheer rose from the patio behind us. Guests collected cupcakes in paper boxes and left. No one jeered and no one lingered long. People wanted an ending they could carry home. We stood in the middle and chose ours. My phone lit again with a message request. A mod from the wedding forum asked for proof. "Send your statement," I told the bride's number. "Include the clip and every screenshot in order. No spin or I publish everything myself." 3 dots pulsed, then vanished, then returned again. A PDF arrived with a single line attached. "I'll cooperate fully if you keep my job out." I forwarded it to the inbox that mattered. The mod replied received with a timestamp and checklist. His sister reappeared with a rolled garment bag. "Change if you want your exit quiet," she offered gently. Inside was a deep navy wrap that hid everything. I slipped it on and felt anonymous for once. She squeezed my forearm, then stepped back fast. The bride approached alone with her phone lowered. No entourage, no camera, no saved performance. "I sent the apology to public channels," she said. Her throat worked like swallowing ground glass. "I will pay your counsel if you hire one." "Hire one anyway," his sister murmured at my shoulder. "Even good intentions get slippery after midnight." He flinched at the word midnight and nodded quickly. "I will make sure she honors every obligation." He used the word obligation like a wall. A car pulled up and the father gestured firmly. She looked at me and then at the street. "I know sorry is cheap after a stunt," she managed. "I can't fix tonight, but I can stop lying." I held her there for a long beat. "Stop lying to yourself first," I answered without heat. "You built a show because you were scared. Fear doesn't excuse harm, but it explains the reach. Do the work after the headlines fade." Her face tightened, then loosened into something human. He reached into his jacket and unfolded the slip. Not the vows, the contingency I had seen. He tore it in half and let it drop. "I won't keep a script for punishment," he said. "I'll write new words when I deserve them." I stepped back toward the waiting rideshare. The driver watched the scene in the mirror. "Airport or home?" he asked softly through the crack. "Home," I answered, though my life felt relocated. I buckled in and stared out to the awning. Notifications stacked while we merged into traffic. I switched the phone to Do Not Disturb. Silence settled like a clean sheet, heavy and simple. I listed tasks in my head and chose 3. Lawyer therapy, a break from every spectacle. Halfway across town, a final text slid through. From a number labeled simply Manager Office. All targeted materials destroyed under witness, it read. Independent auditor scheduled for the morning. I saved it to the folder named Evidence Closed. At my building, I paid the driver and stepped out. My neighbor held the door and glanced at the dress. Big night, she guessed, brows lifting with curiosity. I breathed once and chose the smallest truth. I learned where my line is, I answered. Inside, the mirror caught a stranger who looked settled. Not triumphant, not broken, just finished with pretending. I unzipped the wrap and hung it on a chair. The white underneath felt like a costume discarded. I turned off the light and kept walking forward.